Welcome to Reap What You Sow. Today I have my very favorite guest, Mr. Brandon Novak. Welcome.
You're just saying that because I'm hearing your face.
I am, and then when you leave, I'm going to insult you, but not.
You're going to look at that half-eaten piece of bread in your bag and be like, that fucking cocksucker comes here and fucks my whole shop up in literally 1 minute.
Dude, he eats a slice of bread. He eats a loaf of bread this way instead of cutting it in half.
And then you offer me a drink, and I'm like, no, but if you get me a glass, I will have a sip of your Sprite.
I'll take some of yours. I'm like, dude.
There's 12 in here.
We have plenty. No.
It's a sip of yours.
Take my things. That's cool. I get it.
I like to make an impression.
It worked. I'm gonna feed that to the bread, or feed the bread to the birds, and I'll think of you as I majestically throw it out to the street.
Which, ironically enough, I don't think bread's really good for certain birds. So essentially, you're just hurting as opposed to helping.
I'm fascinated to know how you know that. What do you do when you go
I know a lot of fucking weird things. You want to know another fun fact that I
love
find
to.
Really fascinating?
What do you got?
Adolf Hitler. His favorite drug was morphine. The correct medical terminology for morphine is adolphine.
Another weird fact.
Yeah, drugs get my interest.
I mean, I understand. I know that. Well, so to rewind for a second, is that you were a former pro skateboarder. You were part of Jackass community. You've been on several TV shows, and now where you're at, also an author. And then now where you're at is public speaking, sobriety, the right things, good things, and you're moving forward. So now, what does that journey look like for you?
It's wild. It's really wild because drugs and alcohol were my answer to everything for a grand total of 24 years. My answer to everything then became my problem to everything. So my answer, which then turned into my problem, ironically enough, has now become my answer to everything again. So much so that even in a financial standpoint, that now finally, right, my books are all about my life, which is about drugs and alcohol. The first ever addiction graphic novel. I have a documentary going out to the Sundance and Cannes Film Festival about my life as a drug addict, professional skateboarder, all that. Now I work in the drug and alcohol treatment field. I never went to college. Now colleges pay me to come speak at them about my life and overcoming my adversities, drugs and alcohol. Ironically enough, drugs and alcohol just bought me a home. You know what I mean? So it's literally come full circle. And what that means is when I say that I'm an alcoholic, that it's really, I'm going to summarize this in a really short little package. When I say I'm Brandon, I'm an alcoholic, all that means is that I'm defiant by nature, I hate authority, and I will not conform unless it becomes my idea. Therefore, you tell me what I need to do. I tell you why you need to fuck off because I know, right? Now, because I have that job that consists of knowing everything, any other addict alcoholic that's struggling to find some kind of help, but you tell them what they need to do, they tell you need to fuck off. What I do is I present my package. I try to sell them this new way of life in a form of attraction rather than promotion. Because now, right, drugs and alcohol, my problem, they become my answer. No, they're my answer, then they become my problem, and now they're my answer again. Now the very same thing that killed me is providing me life, and not only me, but hundreds of thousands of people, because they call me and they say, Novak, if you can get clean, there's no reason why I can't. Can you help me? So my defects have become my biggest assets.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's a miracle. It defies logic, and it's miraculous. It's a fucking miracle. Because statistics state, theoretical evidence dictates that I am to be high or dead right now.
Yeah.
I mean, legit.
But especially for someone like you, your addiction has been taped, recorded, publicized.
Yeah.
You didn't have what most people have, which is privacy, where they have a bunch of problems and then you can it's kind of secret. And then you have to be forced to tell people the secrets. you kind of, people knew, and people just knew, and it was TV technology everywhere. And then for you now to look back at that, what do you see?
Well, it's crazy, right? Because addiction is really, it's a strange yet interesting facet to me. If I'm diagnosed as an addict or an alcoholic, this is not debatable. No need to fucking talk to me after we're done this podcast. This is not debatable. If you're diagnosed as an addict or an alcoholic, what that means is that disease left untreated equals death. You die. It's a fatal disease, right? But as far as I'm aware of, it's the only fatal disease from which I possess that tells me I don't have a disease on a daily basis. Follow me here. You diagnose me with HIV, I'm rushing to the hospital to get medication. I don't want to die, fatal disease. Diagnose me with cancer, I'm rushing to the hospital to get chemo. I don't want to die, fatal disease. Diagnose me as an addict or an alcoholic, I need a glass of wine or a bag of heroin to figure out what the fuck's wrong with you for diagnosing me with said disease. Just as fatal as the first two diseases, but left to my own devices, I'll believe that voice that talks to me in my own voice that makes me believe the unbelievable. So I say all that to say is that it's a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde scenario. So much so for me that the more outrageous, the more outlandish my antics were, the more in demand I became, the higher my ratings came, the more I made financially. So like I would go to meetings, I would go to those treatment centers, and they would say, your life is unmanageable. And I would agree that my life was unmanageable. But I really believed that social acceptability equaled personal recovery. So therefore, I would do an appearance in a nightclub. And they would say, well, Mr. Novak, what would you like in your green room on your rider? And I'd say some heroin, some cocaine, some Xanax, and some wine. They would get me those substances. I would take pictures. I would sign autographs. At the end of the night, I would get a check for $10,000. Now, you tell me my life's unmanageable. I believe that my life is unmanageable. My bank account seems pretty fucking manageable. It is now my job to actually get high. So you know what I mean? So I was really fucked.
That's tough. And it's crazy because you don't really know which way is up or down.
No, I was so delusional. And the abnormal had become the normal. Yep. I was living on that animalistic level, and I just didn't know, and I didn't understand.
From, I guess, what is now your problems in comparison to what they were?
Now I have like these Cadillac privileged problems.
Pretty sweet, huh?
Yeah. Like, I fucking threw my arm out somehow, and I'm really pissed at myself because now I have to call my personal trainer and cancel my appointment Friday with him. I'm furious. Come on. You know what I mean?
It's pretty crazy, isn't it?
But the rad thing is anything in my life is a situation, and as a matter of fact, it's a very dealable situation. There's only one problem, and that's if I pick up a drink or a drug. Because if that happens, I can't tell you where I'll be, who I'll be with, and what I will be doing, and I promise you nothing is off the table. And when you came from where I came from, where at the end of my run, right, I was a 35-year-old homeless heroin addict, in 12 inpatient treatment centers, lost count of outpatients and detoxes. My mother had bought me a plot. People had taken life insurance policies out on me. I ended up on life support for 7 days. Medevaced 4 different hospitals, 4 different states, 4 different overdoses. My mother had sold 3 homes to financially pay to put me in 2 different treatment centers, had went through all her resources to help her son. She resorted to going to God with one prayer, and that prayer consisted of, God, please cure him, please kill him, or please kill me because I can't take it anymore. My very best thinking that I could do to come up with another $40 to get another bag of heroin at that time is stand on the corner of Eastern Avenue and Patterson Park and sell my ass for $40 to anybody. You know what I mean? So when you come from that walk of life to now, like, life, it's not heavy. It's not that heavy.
Not anymore.
No.
You know, I did some due diligence on you, and I was researching you, and I was listening to some stories, and one of the things that I heard was that you and Bam met each other through skateboard competitions, and then at one point you didn't show up for one of the meets, and then he left his phone number for you and was like, if you ever want some help, come up here.
Yeah.
So you do that. So you not only have your mom and your family trying to help you, but then you have a guy who also called you and asked to help you. And what was your experience like trying to get sober when you're living now in Pennsylvania, away from family, and with the commotion and the craziness of all your friends. What was that like for you?
Well, the only motivating factor behind any form of change in my life comes as a direct result of pain, right? I don't change when shit is unmanageable. I change when shit is unbearable. And the size of that window of opportunity is about equal to $10. Because you give me $10, that equates to a bag of heroin. All of a sudden, I feel like I overreacted. Or you caught me at a bad time on a bad way in a bad day. It'll be different tomorrow. And I would always say that tomorrow's going to be different. I'm not going to do tomorrow what I did today. And I believe it. In my heart of hearts, I could pass a polygraph. Only to make up tomorrow to repeat yesterday's action and be stuck in Groundhog's Day for the next fucking X amount of years. So what happened in Pennsylvania was the pain became great enough that I became willing to do whatever it took to change. And when I became willing to do what it take to change, I went from possessing that job that consisted of knowing everything to finding myself in the basement of that 13th inpatient treatment center as this 19-year-old tech thumbs through these donation boxes looking for a pair of 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 10th hand used underwear. I'm praying to God that he finds the used underwear because I had no, it's a long story, but I didn't have any underwear on and they made me have underwear. And they didn't have underwear, but what they had was a pair of size 40 women's sweatpants with no drawstring, a woman's tank top, and a pair of size 13 Jesus sandals. Something very imperative happened in the basement of that Catholic Charities rehab as this 19-year-old kid thumbs through these donation boxes looking for used underwear for me. I met the God of my understanding as a direct result of a gift of desperation. The pain became great enough that I became willing to do what the fuck ever you told me to do. And I came to this realization in that basement that I possessed that job for 20 years that consisted of knowing everything to coming to the understanding that what I do know is that I don't fucking know. And my very best thinking gets me in positions and situations like this time after time. I know that I don't know, but clearly you know because you continue to stay sober. I can't, you can. Can you help me? Willingness appeared as a direct result of pain. And then once, because I found myself at the end of my run as the kind of alcoholic who wanted to kill himself on a daily basis, but I didn't want to hurt myself in the process. I was fucking horrible at suicide because I kept waking up and I was at a position in life where I was so low the curb looked like a skyscraper. Now, being in 13 inpatient treatment centers and lost count of outpatients and detoxes and you name the deal, I tried it. I always felt like I was internally unique, right? Like, yes, I see it works for you, Seth. I see it works for all you people, but it can't work. Yeah, different. Like you didn't see what I seen. You haven't experienced what I've experienced. You haven't felt what I felt, right? You didn't watch your father cut your mother's throat at the age of 7. At the age of 8, your father didn't take you to the strip joint when he was in the back conducting business. They didn't sit at the bar stool and pour shots of ginger ale and Coca-Cola. As you would do the shots, they would applaud. Your father would give you that look of approval. You didn't get paid to get high like I got paid to get high. You weren't in these movies that broke by. Oh, that's all this shit my disease would tell me. But what happened was after so many attempts, and I would see that it worked for you, and it worked for her and him, but it's not working for me. Again, in that basement, that Catholic Charities rehab, as they look for my used underwear, I came to the realization that the common denominator in my problems are me. The drugs and the alcohol, they're the solution. Take the solution away, I'm left with the real problem, me. I'm like a stranger in my own skin trying to figure out who the fuck let me in, and I don't have my solution for the first time, which is a bag of heroin. Whoa. And when you're that low, there's only one place to go from there.
You're left with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's where now you've got so much going on, though. I mean, it's amazing to see how long is it now?
I'm coming up on 4 years sober. I mean, by the grace of God.
That's not that long to see your life change from
where
you were. And not to say that the work, like you put in a lot of work. There was a lot of work that goes into that, but that's really not that long to see the rapid progression of your life. I think that writing a book and now putting out the first ever addiction graphic novel. Dude. Yeah, that's cool.
It's groundbreaking, man. I'm really proud.
Now you're getting to go around and speak to people, going to colleges, going to these places, and I think the question I'm looking for is, what's the future look like for you?
There's a few projects that are in the works, and unfortunately, I can't divulge them, but they're big. They're big, man. And they're like, not only is it like rad, but it's like definitely security, and also like it will leave behind a legacy. You know what I mean? Like if I ever get married and have kids, like it will, you know what I mean? And I can't get into it, and I wish that I could, but we're just not at that stage yet. But it's insane knowing that almost 4 years ago, May 25th, 2015, I walked into my, God willing, 13th inpatient treatment center. And despite being the first skateboarder endorsed by Gatorade, hanging out with Michael Jordan, touring the world with Tony Hawk, despite being in these movies that break box office records, despite being a New York Times selling author, all that I walked into that 13th inpatient treatment center with was the clothes on my back, 8 scarves, 2 jackets, 3 socks, 1 stick of deodorant. It fit into that bag that doubled as a pillow, a needle, a spoon, a restraining order that my mother just had served against me, and 4 cigarette butts that I picked up off the ground. That's all I had. You know, that is all I had.
And now you just bought a house.
Yeah.
Sit on that. What?
It's you know, I was looking at someone's Facebook thing, and you know how that all of a sudden it comes out and it's like, what their 5-year plan is. Mm-hmm. And an ex of mine, she had this 5-year plan, and in the next 5 years it said that she was going to obtain all these things, and without trying to sound egotistical, I had achieved 4 out of 5 of those things in the last year alone. The only one I didn't achieve was having a kid. Thank God. But I'm like, and then because it took that for me to slow down and be like, wow. You know, because I'll just go. And it's easy for me to get lost in the accessories of life. You know what I mean? The money, the property, the prestige, what ultimately all that does is divert me from the primary purpose. And it allows me to forget that sometimes staying sober is more than enough. You know, because I'll keep up with the Joneses. And what's scary now is right, I'm coming up on 4 years sober. I'm a productive member of society. I'm a productive tax-paying member of society. Now I know some shit. Now I have credit cards. Financially, I'm good. I own a home. People rely and depend upon me.
But sometimes it's
what
still,
my disease will tell me is like,
you're good.
Hey, you know, yes, you would never do heroin and cocaine, but you're 39 years old. You're in bed by 10 p.m. You could have a glass of wine.
Beer.
Yeah,
it's a Sunday.
Exactly. It's scary. Yeah. It's more dangerous for me now than it was 30, 60, 90 days into my
process.
Well,
now you actually have things to lose.
Yeah, but then because I have things to lose, that means I've acquired some things, which my disease will tell me that I'm the fucking man. Meaning that Brandon is Brandon's God and I did this. Yep. When the reality is I'm not clever enough to put this plan together.
Right.
No way. I told you what allowed me to get all this was coming to the realization of that basement Catholic Charities rehab, saying that I know that I don't know. Because I don't know, the lack of plan has produced the best of plan.
Because you're not in the way.
Exactly. Taken me out of the equation.
Finally, right?
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Well, and I guess you jogged my mind on something too. Is that, you know, with your new house, you're in Philly.
Yeah.
Why Philly?
Well, because like Baltimore, my mother lives there.
Yeah.
She lives in Little Italy, and
yeah.
But prior to that, she lived in Canton. I lived there with her, and she put me out of that home, rightfully so, at like 22-ish. Mm-hmm. And I just bounced around and homeless a lot, and you name it, I did it, and that's how I survived. The Baltimore has not been my home in a long time. I started getting high at the end of 16, 17, full time. So any like good memories I have were of so long ago.
Doesn't really give you the same.
No. When I fly home into Philly and I go over the bridge from the airport, I get that feeling of I'm home.
Yeah.
And I don't get that in Baltimore. Not that it has anything to do with Baltimore.
No, it's your experiences.
Exactly.
There.
And the more that I go back, I've recreated new memories, and they're great. But
it's not home.
Yeah. I have my cats. I have my Philly's just my home.
You got your things there.
Yeah.
What made you pick that? Was there any reason?
Well, because I was living in Westchester for Pennsylvania with Bam and all those guys for so many years, and then I had this reputation of being Novak the party guy, Novak the guy that's always down for whatever, whenever.
So when you'd see people,
So I went through treatment, and I knew it was different this time. Right, I knew it was different, and I knew that I was in a different place, and I had did the work internally to make myself be okay mentally, no matter where I went. But I also accepted how high the stakes were this time. And if I went back to Westchester, and one day I don't have a meeting or a plan set up, and I'm just walking around town, and one of those dudes like, Novak, fuck it, come on, I'll buy you a drink. I wasn't.
Well, and let's be real. How many meetings are in Westchester in comparison to maybe Philly or?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, we're in California, man. I mean, it's like you can find a meeting.
Yeah.
Crazy. I've never seen anything like that, but your probability is probably better in a bigger city like Philly than it is maybe in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
I just wanted a new start.
Or Westchester.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both in.
I just wanted a new start. I wanted a new slate, and there was things
that was the place
I need to move on from.
Well, it seems like it's convenient too for your friends that are still there, and then Baltimore isn't that far away either, and New York is close. It's very convenient.
Exactly, it's in the middle of all, and Philadelphia is a bigger version than Baltimore.
It is.
And New York's a bigger version than Philadelphia.
Yeah, it is.
So, and it's right in the middle of all of them. A train ride, I'm an hour and 20 minutes away from either or.
Well, so we skipped over a bit, but you said the 4 out of the 5 goals, the 5th one was to have a kid. Would you ever be a dad? Would you ever?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm not opposed to it. I would welcome it if I found like the right
person.
Woman. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other thing, right? Because I'm single and I live like a single man, and I'll meet these women and I'm like, this is it. This is the one. In theory and on paper, it's perfect. And then into the deal, the euphoria of it wears off. And I'm like, nah, that's not what I'm. And I've come to the understanding, just like with everything else in life, there is no their part, right? I am the problem. I am the common denominator in any problem. My thing that I'm guilty of is I expect people to know what I know, think what I think, and feel what I feel without me voicing any of that to them. So the moment they don't, all that is expectations.
So you want a mind reader?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And now you got to be fucking spot on. Because my expectations are high. And expectations are nothing but unfulfilled resentments. So don't fucking let me down. But I've put expectation on you. Now I'm just waiting for you to let me down. So I can say, I told you.
That causes a bunch.
Yeah.
Here, yeah. Where the honeymoon phase wears off.
Yeah.
And
it's not cute anymore.
like, you didn't remember what I liked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so then.
But you know what's funny? Ironically enough, throughout my whole life, I always had a woman. Always, always, always. And now I'm the best I've ever been mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, and then I don't have a woman.
No woman, no cry.
Yeah. But I think it's because I've learned not to settle. I used to settle before because I didn't believe I was worth much more, to be honest with you. Right? I was grateful that anybody gave me the fucking time of day.
Right.
Because I knew deep down inside what was coming. And now, like, I've did a lot of work on myself, and through doing these esteemable acts, I've gained a new sense of self-esteem to where now I can hold my head up high and look at you with conviction and believe what I say to you. And it's not because I'm trying to fucking get something out of you or there's an ulterior motive behind me being here.
Right.
Which was how my life was for a lot of years.
You were the king of manipulation.
Yeah.
Which now you don't have to be.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
It's very freeing.
And that's the thing I was going to say is that I think that with you're not only are you're through your story and you sharing your history and stuff, but you're truly very open, and that's very freeing. I think when people hold in lies, they hold in resentments. Dude, it's like an anvil on your chest.
Yeah. You know, I'm very upfront, I'm very descriptive, and I'm very graphic with who I am, where I come from, and God willing, where I'm heading. Because what I've come to understand and know for certain is that the moment I forget where I come from, I will return. Therefore, I keep my past married to my present. They're both of equal value and of importance.
Yes. I thoroughly agree with that. I mean, I think that if you don't remember how it started, all of a sudden things get good. Next thing you know, you're like, and then boom, you're back where you started. And and then, like they say, it gets worse.
Literally.
So I want to know, before you got sober, it from what you've told me, it sounds like your values you didn't really have many left. Now, what are your values now?
I wasn't afforded the opportunity to have values, right? Because I possess this disease called alcoholism. And for me, the kind of disease that I possess, that when that thing calls, I answer by any and all fucking means necessary.
Right.
And anything between me and that next bag, bottle, or pill must and will go. And it's not personal. It's just business for the game that I play called alcoholism. Right? So I don't want to fucking hurt you. I don't want to steal from you. I don't want to lie from you.
But I will.
But I don't have the opportunity to not, because my disease is calling and I fucking answer. And the reason I'm in this position is because I possess that job that consists of knowing everything. You know? Because I don't want to do it, but I don't know how to not do it. Because I will not become subservient to the fact that maybe you know and I don't. You know? Because what's ironic is, like, out there, to drink or drug, right? Out there, to fight is to live. To fight is to survive. To fight is to get another bag. To fight is to get another bottle. To fight is to make it through another day. But then I come into the program. My God, of my understanding, sees fit to separate me from my drug of choice, May 25th, 2015. And what I learned is that it's the exact opposite. It's such an oxymoron, because now I'm in the program. What I've learned is to fight is to die. To resist is to relapse. You know, everything that I lived by out there is the exact opposite in here. You know, and that's it's rather
challenging.
If you make it, if I make it, or ironic, or, you know, because what I learned is if you change your perception, you can change your world. So it could be challenging. It could be reassuring, depending on how much pain I've experienced to become willing. I'd be like, because for me at the end, when I walked in, I was so grateful for finally you to tell me what to do, because my decision-making ability had become shit. I had recognized that. I had accepted that. My very best thinking gets me here. So I was never so grateful for you to say, all right, get a shower, be in bed by 8, lights out by 9, wake up at 7, bed made by 8, be in the chow hall by 9. Thank God.
No thinking involved.
No. If I was beaten so bad, if you would have told me, get naked, stand on your head in the corner and jerk off for 5 months straight, I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's do it. I would have did anything, you know, because the pain was that bad.
Yeah.
And thank God. This last time when I went to treatment, I had been to the same specific facility 4 times prior, and this is how it looked. Every time I'd sit in the same chair with the same intake coordinator, and she'd say, okay, Mr. Novak, your insurance covers 90 days. And I would say, in theory, 90 days sounds great, but in reality, I'm more of like a 45-day kind of fella. This woman to do, this job to fulfill, this state to go to, and she'd laugh at me each and every time and say, sweetheart, you have no idea. Anything and everything you put in front of your recovery does not or will not matter, because you will lose it. Fast forward, cut to May 25th, 2015, walking into that same facility for the 5th time. I finally have been demoralized in just such a fashion from drugs and alcohol. I've been beaten into a state of reasonableness that I sit in the same chair with the same intake coordinator. And she says, okay, Mr. Novak, your insurance covers 90 days. When she gives me that offer that day, I can't even come back with a counter offer, because if I say no, that entails an explanation. I have literally, thank God, I have literally been beaten speechless by my disease of addiction. I couldn't even talk. That's how fucking tired I was. She says, sweetheart, you're in no condition to do your intake. Get up to detox and I'll see you in 4 days. I couldn't even come up with a plan if I wanted. I was so mentally and physically drained. I was drained.
So what are your values now?
My values now are to know that to continue to remind myself that the world owes me nothing. I owe it everything, right? You don't owe me anything. It's part of my living amends as much damage and harm that I've done to anyone in my passing, in my wake. Thousands of people I'll never make amends to. That like any room I go into, I make sure I leave it a little better of a condition than it was when I walked in, even if it's down to me throwing a little napkin away. Just something to make the world a little bit better than prior to me walking into it. My mother is everything to me. My sobriety is everything. That's first and foremost.
Without that,
everything else goes. Relationship, saying what I mean and meaning what I say. My cats, like things, groceries. I'm weird, but like I was so disconnected from reality for so long.
You appreciate this stuff.
Yeah, I love going to the grocery store.
The thing I think what you're saying is integrity.
Yeah.
You have integrity now.
Through doing these esteemable acts, I've now gained that sense of self-esteem.
And now you feel good.
Yeah. Which takes us back to me not settling, hence me maybe either reason behind me being single or me justifying why I'm single is because like I just, no, if I don't feel you deserve my time, you don't deserve my time.
And maybe you're supposed to.
Yeah. We'll see.
I don't know.
I don't either. I've also learned when I want to make my God laugh, I tell him how my day's going to go. You know what I mean?
So, I think another thing that I find interesting is like I saw you and Bam together recently, and he's going back. He's going into another place, right? Is that?
Yeah, he's not doing good.
Right.
Not doing good then. Not doing good now.
Which brings it so full circle.
Yeah.
And that's, I think,
right. My defects have become my assets because that motherfucker is as stubborn as all get out. But all of a sudden, through my attraction rather than promotion, because remember, if you tell me what I need to do, I tell you I need to fuck off. He's defiant by nature. He hates authority. He will not conform. All of a sudden, he sees this guy, Novak, who is never worse than he's the worst case he's ever seen and witnessed, justified his behaviors because he was never as bad as Novak. Now, all of a sudden, Novak was like born again, if you will. And he's like, dude, if he can do it, there's no reason why I can't.
Oh, so it's crazy because not only he reached out to you to get you help, you guys become great friends, tries to help you for years and years and years.
Countless times.
I mean, it was like, from what I've heard, his family, they just, not only did he house you and try to help you get sober, but then he got you paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like
gave me opportunities.
He was really trying and didn't really know how.
The reason behind me writing my first book. He said, the terms of the contract have changed now. I was living at his house. I was on Viva. He said, you're going to write a book. I hadn't graduated high school. I had no GED, but he said, you're going to write a book. You have to have a pen and paper in your hand at all times. The first time I don't see you with a pen and paper in your hand, you're back to Baltimore. I don't care if you're writing or not. You have to have a notebook and a pen in your hand at all times. And if you do that, then you can be on the show. You can drive a car. You can have a credit card. You can get a paycheck from. He was the whole motivating factor behind. I had no intentions or interest in writing a book. About a year later, I wrote the whole thing, pen and paper, my first book, and I went to him. I said, I think I'm finished. He, in turn, gave it to my co-author. My co-author turned 12 chapters into 23 chapters. Got me. His manager got me a literary agent. My literary agent shopped the book. And history.
And now, he gave you all the opportunities, but didn't have the knowledge on how to help you.
Yes.
Now, you have the knowledge on how to help him.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's all coming full circle where now you're able to actually try to help someone who is a close friend of yours. How does that feel, man? To finally be able to at least be a part of trying to help.
It's a double-edged sword because one would say, or at least think, like that's got to be the most gratifying feeling in the world.
But it's awful because it's your friend.
It's awful, A, because it's my friend, and it's awful, B, because it's not working.
The craziest part is that he almost directly followed in your exact footsteps, where I'll move to Helsinki.
Yeah.
I'll move to Spain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all of a sudden, it's still not working. So moving, I mean, doesn't work.
Mm-mm.
And now all the same things are kind of happening, and now it's crazy because I think now he's getting to see, people have heard your story, people know, and now he's getting to look at it and go, shit, man, it's kind of like yours.
It's not kind of like
It
mine.
is.
It is mine. It is mine. Paulo Peralta gave me this ultimatum. Element gave him an ultimatum. You know what I mean? He is, unfortunately, who I was. And it fucking sucks because there's nothing, it's like.
Because now you know better.
Yeah. And everybody gets a turn. All right? Like how for years he wanted to grab me, he wanted to shake me and say, don't you see? Now, Mr. coming up on 4 years sober, Mr. working in the drug and alcohol treatment field, Mr. helping people on a countless times. I have to witness that, and now the shoe is on the other foot.
You feel how your mom felt.
Absolutely. And now his mother, who used to, I was the worst thing for anybody, now calls me crying saying, what do we do? What can we do? And it's a tough thing. It is a very tough thing. But it's just like when my mother went to church across the street in Little Italy, and Father Mike saw her sitting in the pew crying uncontrollably. And Father Mike said, Miss Pat, what's wrong? Miss Pat, my mother said, Father Mike, it's Brandon. He's never been worse. Father Mike said, I'm sorry to hear that, Miss Pat. She said, it's okay. I've went to God with one prayer. Prayer consists of, God, please cure him, please kill him, please kill me. Father Mike looked at my mother for the first time in his life, and he screamed at her. He said, how dare you go to God with a plan like that about your son? God has a plan for your son. You don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. And Brandon doesn't know what it is. And I always say, thank God I didn't know what it was, because I would have fucked it up. Right? So I have to ultimately remember and try to reinforce in his loved ones that God has a plan for him.
Right.
And the reality is there's no human power that could have ever got me sober or keep me sober. I had no dog in this fight until I had that spiritual experience. And if you're not in the program, you don't get it. You'll never be able to grasp that concept.
It's very different. Yeah, and I think even with seeing your close friend and the pain and the turmoil that is, it's still different when when you don't have an addiction or an alcoholic brain, you don't understand, just stop.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't understand, but when you have it and you see your friend going through it, you're like, oh my God, it rips up your heartstrings, because you literally see someone making your exact mistakes, and that's challenging. And I think everyone is rooting for him.
Absolutely.
And that's the best part, is that at least he does have people who are like, please, but that's his decision. And it's awesome that you're able to be an educator.
Yeah. And the good thing, the flip side of that coin that gives me some reassurance, some acceptance of the situation, if you will, is that it makes sense to me why he's where he's at. I've sat where he's sitting. I've thought how he's thinking, and I've felt how he feels. So I get it. Now, does that take away the pain of it? No, but I get it. I know that brain and why it has us think or feel the way we do.
You understand instead of trying to be understood.
Yeah. Absolutely. Empathy, sympathy, and compassion, 3 things that I think lack in today's time. Don't talk at me or to me, but talk with me. It's really, it's pretty simple.
Why are you still sober? What are the things that really did it for you in early sobriety?
They told me in the beginning of my sobriety, they said, do yourself a favor. Stick to the basics, so God willing, you never have to go back to the basics. And that made sense to me, because so many times for so many years and so many attempts to get sober and stay sober, I would outthink myself out of every treatment center.
Right.
And I would come in and I would save my face, right? Because at that time, everything was exterior. right? So God forbid you looked at me funny. You thought I was a failure. You thought I was a loser. You thought I was defeated. I would save my face. And then ultimately what happened is by saving my face, I continued to lose my ass, literally. And then what happened was the pain became great enough that I finally became willing to come in and save my ass. And in saving my ass, somewhere along the lines, my ass and my face correlated, right? So I learned to be clear-cut, direct, and honest. Not to get lost in the accessories of life, the money, the property, the prestige, which will, from my own admittance, divert me from my primary purpose, which is staying sober by any and all means fucking necessary. Hence, my past stays married to my present.
Right. And I think, actually, we only got a couple more minutes left, and there is some things I did want to talk to you about also, is that when it comes to your overall appearance, fashion, your look, everything externally of yourself has changed.
Yeah.
What is stuff you like to wear now? You're wearing crocodile boots today, man.
I am, man.
Where is your fashion sense at now? What do you like to wear?
I figure it out as I go. You know what I mean? Like it depends on my mindset. Because what I've learned, again, is that my mentality will create the reality for which I live in. So you catch me in some days and I'm just like real easy, happy-go-lucky, don't really care much about a lot, put whatever on. And you catch me some days, just like my music taste, some days it's like reggae, some days it's like punk, some days it's like Otis Redding. It just varies. But I like to leave a statement. I like to make a statement.
Eat half my bread sideways.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Don't want a whole soda, only a little bit of yours in a glass, won't share the can.
So, but I have noticed with you, the two things that seem pretty consistent, not today, but you've been wearing a hat when you had the long hair.
Yeah.
The hat was the thing, and you do always seem to be wearing boots.
Yes. I'm an accessories whore. I love accessories, right?
You need 42 more rings.
I know.
And then I'll call you Johnny Depp.
Yeah, he's the man. He is the man. I care about the things that I did not care about before, right? Like I go to the doctor, I get physicals, I get my teeth whitened. I've had a lot of teeth put in, old teeth taken out. I got a hydrofacial last week in Florida. I wear underwear. That's a new thing. I never wore underwear prior to sobriety.
Commando.
Yeah. Now I wear underwear, man.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's cool.
When you first got sober, what was the challenges you faced this time? I feel like the first year is always kind of difficult to adjust.
For me, it really wasn't.
No.
Because the pain was so great that I was willing to do whatever it took. I did a lot of interviews and they say, were you depressed? Were you depressed in rehab in the beginning? And I'm like, no. It was like I hit the Mega Millions.
Right.
I was depressed when I was laying in the assessment room of the Gaudenzia Outpatient Treatment Center in Westchester, Pennsylvania, while I was just finished the assessment with the guy who was trying to find me a bed. I was laying in a fetal position in the corner of the wall with my face into the wall because I didn't want the people that were doing outpatient looking at me from behind. At that point in time, my next best thought was if he couldn't get me a bed, I was going to walk outside and fall asleep behind the bush. I was out of plans. I couldn't even walk anymore. That's when I was depressed, but I said to myself, in between me pulling cigarette butts out of the receptacle, I said, if I get a bed, this is going to be it. There is no looking back. And it has been. And I didn't voice that to anybody because I knew my words held no weight.
Right.
I was tired of hearing my own fucking voice. So what I did because, you
shut the fuck up and sat
for
down.
The first time in my life.
Just listen.
And I let my walking do my talking because my words held no weight anymore. And I recognized and accepted that.
Final thing is, what advice do you give? What advice do you have to give to anyone? Doesn't matter, recover, sober, not. I don't give a shit. Just what advice do you have to give to people?
What I do on a daily basis is I treat God's children, my father, God's children as my brothers or sisters. And there's my life boils down to two simple words, really easy: intentions and motives. As long as my intentions are sincere and my motives are proper, I live a very prosperous life. The minute there's like an agenda, an ultimatum, or modus operandi, if you will, my life is not peaceful. It is not pleasant. It is not enjoyable. And the beautiful thing is, now that I'm aware, ignorance is no longer bliss. I know, which means I am to be held accountable.
Now you're accountable.
Yeah.
They say that the root of an alcoholic is self-centered.
Absolutely. Dude, for years it was me. And if I had 3 minutes, you, but only if it benefited me. You know what I mean?
It's kind of how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah. And it still can be.
Yeah, you have to check yourself.
Hence me being aware. Now I'll do it for like a half a day as opposed to 2 days. You know, whatever.
You're like, oh.
Yeah.
No, instead of 24 years, you're doing it for
True.
a day, man.
True.
I mean, it's like,
True.
It's much, your reaction time is faster, and I think that's all we can really hope for.
Yeah.
But anyway, dude, Novak, thank you for coming out.
Thank you for having me. Long time overdue, man. I'm really proud of you and what you have going on here. I'm proud of you. I can speak for your father. I know he's fucking proud of you. You're doing things, man. It takes a lot to get out of your comfort zone and move to a state that you have no idea about, and not only recreate you and your life, but like your world. So I commend you for that.
Thanks, man. I like it here. I'll stay.
It suits you. You wear it well.
No pun intended. Suits
No,
you.
I intended it. Fuck you.
Fuck you then. Fucking
Love you, pal.
Mr. Novak, fuck you, but thank you. And I'm really happy to hear where things are going, and I'm super happy for you.
Thank you, man.
You got it. That's
Cheers.
it for Reap What You Sow.